Good afternoon. I'm Mindy Silverstein, Managing Director of the Milken Institute. Sessions on sports are always popular at Global Conference because not only are many of us fans, which is exhibited by this crowd today, but because they resonate with our audience given the themes, leadership, team dynamics, and management. This year's panel reflects the continued globalization and diversification of our relationships and programs at the Milken Institute, with one of Africa's great business leaders who also happens to own probably the continent's most successful football team. And this is, as many of you know, over the programming in the last few days, Africa is one of the regions where we're driving capital and trying to create jobs as part of our mission at the Milken Institute. To a hometown hero with magic who will talk about sports today, but has previously participated in Milken Institute and Faster Cure sessions about the importance of accelerating medical research and solutions. I'm pleased to hand off to a longtime friend of the Institute, who I know will lead a spirited conversation about the business of sports, legendary sportscaster Jim Gray. Jim is a sportscaster for Showtime, Fox, and Westwood One Radio. His career highlights include live TV and radio broadcasts for 9 Olympic Games, 24 Super Bowls, 9 World Series, 19 NBA Finals, and 15 NCAA Final Fours. A sports fan is very jealous. Jim has won 11 national Emmys for journalism and reporting, and has been named Sports Reporter of the Year by USA Today 12 times. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Gray.
Thank you, Mindy. Let me start by saying I want to thank the Milken Institute and this global conference. It is just beyond belief what Mike Milken, who we all owe a great debt of gratitude to, for putting this together and for everything that he is doing across the world. So I want to thank him very much and thank the Institute for all that they're doing. These people up here really don't need an introduction, but we'll do it anyway as a formality. Brian France, of course, the CEO of NASCAR. Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals, my friend. He joins me every Monday night on Monday Night Football, brought to you by the University of Phoenix and the Apollo Group, who are sponsors here of the conference as well. Larry, good to see you. There are about 8 people in this country where you can say their first name. If you say Irvin, nobody has any idea, but if you say Magic, here he is, Irvin Magic Johnson. And Patrice Mosepe, who is the owner of the Sundowns. He also is a very philanthropic man from South Africa, and he's going to give us an international perspective that we don't have. Thank you. So let's get this out of the way.
How did I know?
All right. Yesterday, Adam Silver banned Donald Sterling. I've been at this conference 3 days. I've had this question, however many people are here, times 1,500. Now it's official. What is your reaction?
Well, it was the best thing. It was a great decision. It had to be done. I thought that Adam Silver, our new commissioner, stood there and first he gathered all the facts and he made the only decision that he could make, which was to ban Donald Sterling. Racism has no place in our society and definitely in sports or in the NBA. And so I was proud of him, and also I was proud of the Clipper players for responding the way they did last night. I thought that they really had a hard couple of days because of all the swirling around them, but they came together and really played well last night. And so now it's up to the owners. They have to do their job. And so this thing is not over. It's just step one, but there's a couple more steps before it's all said and done.
So having known your story and covered you since your days back at Michigan State, your personal story is well known. You did suffer from some racism growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Your family, your dad, obviously you got it as you went through college. and you became out here with the Lakers, so you've won championships. You now own a baseball team. You know what it's like to be on that end, and now you're sitting at home, probably with Cookie, and you get clapped over the head because you took a picture with somebody. What was your reaction, and how did that make you feel to know that you were at the center of something that you do probably countless hundreds of times a day?
Well, first of all, I think I was frustrated, disappointed, upset, because one of the first people I met when I came to LA was Donald Sterling. And I went to his beach house for his annual summer party.
The white party.
Yes.
Believe it or not, that's what it was called. Everybody had to show up wearing white clothes. I didn't think of that until right now.
Only you could say that, though. I couldn't say that, and Larry couldn't say that.
Is that true, though? Yeah, that's what it was called, the white party.
Yeah. But the great Dr. Buss, owner of the Lakers, took me out there. And
he got mad at me. I had a red pinstripe on my shirt. He said, "You're ruining my party. It's not all white. It's all white here. Your shirt's not all white." Anyway, go ahead.
And so I met him 4 or 5 times for lunch to talk about his Clipper team and try to give him advice. And then you turn around and he makes that comment about he doesn't want not only myself but African Americans and Latinos to come to his games. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And so, yes, in the last couple of days, from taking a picture with a young lady to now this, it's blowing my mind. But at the same time, I had to make a stand, not only for myself, but for all minorities. And I always do that. I've always been one of the leaders in the minority community, and I will always fight for minorities and their rights. And so that's it, you know, and it's still, again, it's still a process. We're not there yet, but it's still a process.
Reverend Jesse Jackson has been here all week. He's been very accessible. He's been around. He came to the game last night, and he met with several of the players on the side of the court. And I asked him what he had to say, and he said he was proud of those men, and that Dr. King would be very proud of them because they chose dignity over dollars. How close were we to not having an NBA playoff season and some games being boycotted over this?
Well, if this decision had came down different than it was, you wouldn't have seen that game last night or any other games from here on out in the playoffs. The players were ready to boycott. They should have been ready to boycott. This was much bigger than a basketball game or the NBA. And so for the first time, you saw everybody rally together. Now, also, you have to remember, this wasn't just a Latino and African-American issue. This was a worldwide issue. It was a society issue. So a lot of people, Caucasians, were outraged over what happened as well, and others. So this was really a situation that I was happy to see America band together. And now what we're seeing is other sports saying, okay, let's look at our sport too, because of what the NBA was able to do, and see how we can improve it.
Patrice, let's bring you in because you live in South Africa.
Thank God we can get off of this. Thank you.
Well, hopefully we've satisfied our audience who was wanting to hear this, and now we've taken the first few minutes to deal with it, and we're going to move forward here now and broaden it out. But Invictus, the story of the South African rugby team, plays into this because you all have been living through this and going through change for years upon years, and President Mandela embracing that. How big was that toward racial relations in your country, and did that cause social change, the sport?
Well, absolutely. We got into sport as a family and have allocated significant resources because sports is a very, very important instrument, a tool to bring people together. We had a history where black and white were not even allowed to play together. You know, we had black teams which were by law forbidden to play against white teams. But all of those things are behind us. And I think the most exciting issue for us in South Africa is the huge opportunity that bring people together, the reconciliation process, the the beauty of and the strength of diversity. You know, at the end of the day, we were all made in God's image. And our multiracial background brings absolutely unique attributes. Everybody from different parts of the world, white South Africans, black South Africans, are at the heart of what this new economy and the growth of South Africa should be. And sports plays a very, very important role in that regard.
You own a huge company, African Rainbow Minerals, and it was interesting because we got to chat before we came out here, and you said the interesting dynamic is we're cognizant and we have to bring whites in to play in our sports, and we have to build them up and give them the opportunity because they're in the minority. So it's exactly what, as you grew up, as the exact opposite.
You know,
how has that worked? How has the general public handled that?
You know, we have about 50 million black South Africans and about 5 white South Africans. We have to genuinely, in terms of what we do and say, convince every single white South African that South Africa is the best place for them to live, to grow, to bring up their families. And you know, you cannot fool people. I mean, you can go out and you know, politicians, particularly in the developing world, don't have the sort of credibility that religious leaders and various others do have. But the critical issue is that we have to create a society where every single white South African, based on what they experience, based on their lifestyle, based on their day-to-day interaction, feels that South Africa is the best place for them to live in.
Larry, you play in the National Football League. We have heard so much about the difference in income and income inequality. Teams are now selling for tremendous amounts of money. Milwaukee Bucks last week in the NBA for $550 million on the heels of the Sacramento Kings. Teams in the NFL now valued at minimum of $1 billion. We don't need to hold any benefits for you, but you're making $17, $18 million. But your talent is being used and you are at risk. Is there such a thing in sports as income inequality?
I don't believe so, Jim, to be honest with you. I mean, sports is about supply and demand. You know, as an athlete, you're doing something that the public want to see. They want to go out and see you perform at the highest level. And there's a cost associated with that. Teams do a great job of you know, putting people in the seats, obviously giving us, you know, great accommodations and the opportunity to live our dreams and play. But I think it's a pretty fair playing field, to be honest with you, Jim.
Brian, in your sport, you know, teams are paid by sponsors. So there's a tremendous amount of money that comes in through the advertising and through the sponsorship, but there's also the reward for winning the race. So it's a different paradigm, because in the National Football League, if you're 4-12, you get the same paycheck as if you know, are 12-4. So does that equal things out in terms of this inequality, if there is one?
Well, I think that's right on the supply and demand. I agree with Larry. In our situation, the sponsor does play a much more pivotal role. And that comes with obligations too, by the way, with our drivers and our teams who represent some of the biggest brands in the country. And in our sport, you know, big brands, they're not just somewhere in the stadium. They're part of the game and part of the race. And so I think in sports, in general, it's a really sound business. I think, you know, players, drivers would all like to make more money, and they often do. Everybody has to balance the cost. The magic's on the other side of it now, too, with the tremendous infrastructure that you've got and capital that has to go into. So Daytona's going to do we're doing a $500 million private capital facility, so upgrade on the facility. So, you know, I think sports, on balance, you know, is in a good space.
What role, Magic, should sports play in terms of having a social conscience and social change? I mean, you have the attention of every kid in Los Angeles because you have the Dodgers. So they're on television, maybe not right now. Hopefully some point they will be. But you flashed your smile when you won championships with the Lakers, and it brought people together. But what role can individuals and teams play in affecting social change?
Well, Jim, really, sports already play a role in social change. Sports is the only thing that really you sitting right next to basically somebody you really don't know, and probably of another different race. But you'll know that person, you got season tickets, and we all come to cheer for our favorite team, right? And then for me, and just like Larry, we didn't care what color the guy on our team was, as long as he can get the job done. If his ass couldn't get the job done, he's got to go. You know, I don't care if he's green, purple, blue. Only thing I wanted to do was win the NBA championship. That's it. And so I played with, you know, Kurt Rambis, Michael Cooper, on and on and on. So we didn't really care. We didn't care what color our coach was. It's all about sports is the one entity that we really don't care. We come out and cheer for our teams, and like I said, it's all different type of people sitting there. Now, what we can do as individuals, we can do more. And I think that just because we had this isolated incident, you know, with Donald, I don't want to bring down sports in general, because I think, again, sports have been wonderful. And so I think sports have always been viewed as social change. And what we have to do now with this situation with the Clippers is that we now have to just get out ourselves as the players and the owners, just do more in the community, make sure we reach out. And a lot of us already, NASCAR has an outreach program, the NFL has an outreach program, we in the NBA has an outreach program, I'm sure you do too. And so just make sure that we reach out, not just to our season ticket holders, but to the community, and do a better job of including them.
So it's not just race, it's now also about sexual orientation, because we've heard an awful lot in the past 6 months about gay players coming into the NFL, which we'll have one drafted here shortly. Jason Collins now in the NBA. I'm just wondering, why do you believe this has become such a big issue, and the acceptance level that you and your teammates would have at the Arizona Cardinals if, in fact, you have a player that you don't know that became public with it?
Well, Jim, you and I both know there's been homosexual athletes playing sports for years. You know, what I think is unique now is that we have a lot more accepting of a culture, and Magic touched on it earlier. In the locker room, we don't care what your sexual orientation is, what your religion is, what color you are for that matter, as long as you can perform. And I think that is the one common denominator we have in sports, is that it's all about the performance. We have guys that come from broken homes. We have guys come from, you know, wealthy families. We have all type of different people meshed in the locker room, but we're accepting of each other because we're all working for one common goal, and that's what makes it unique for us.
So is it an issue that's more external than internal? Is it more fascinating or interesting, or the media makes more of it than it really is?
Jim, I would be lying to you if I ever told you that we had any conversations about that stuff in the locker room. You know, the only thing we talk about is how can we get better? How can we improve? Now, what the media asks us and what the fans might tweet us on a daily basis is completely different. You know, we don't have those type of conversations in the locker room.
You're telling me there's no talk about sex in the locker room?
No, there's some talk.
Really?
There's some.
I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I guess I missed yours.
I've heard sex talked about once or twice, maybe.
And you never did either, did you? Do they talk about
Only the married guys talk about sex.
I guess they don't talk about it in the car while they're running around the track, do they?
No, we would never. I'm with Larry.
Well, that was
family sport. Remember that, Jim.
That was real comfortable. Yeah. Let's turn to social media, speaking about sex. What role, Brian, is social media playing in changing the paradigm of sports as we know it, and what role does it have on a daily basis?
Well, I think it's the greatest opportunity. It's also one of the greatest challenges, right? Because the millennial fan and they're wanting to have a device as part of the game experience or at a race experience. and how they consume sports. We're going through a transformational time culturally with that. We think we're in a really great spot because of all of the data that's paramount to running the events, all the telemetry from the cars, all the things that we think over time we'll be able to incorporate that into the race experience for our fans. And I'll give you one data point on that. I mentioned earlier that Daytona is doing a huge renovation, and there's going to be 11 football field size areas of social media connectivity, as we call it. And so everybody has their eye on it, from the race experience to the ability to communicate on a minute-by-minute basis. We have a partnership with HP where we designed and developed basically is a fan and media engagement center. We're able to literally scrape the internet in all forms of media in real time, 24 hours a day, to see where the sentiment is going on Twitter, on social media, and so on. So every league is putting a lot of resources to taking this big challenge and making it into a great opportunity.
If you didn't have this, would you lose fans?
Oh yeah, no question about it. Listen, it's a tool. It's a tool to communicate, and it's a tool to let fans consume more of sports in real time. Yep. Young fans today, most people in this room would know this. When they go to a sporting event, there is a social component now that's very important to them, and the leagues that figure that out the best will obviously benefit the most.
Larry, you have a couple million followers, or just under that. What is the message that you're trying to get out? What is it you're trying to lead them to?
Well, social media gives me an opportunity to really conversate with my fans, the fans that I would never be able to touch base with on a daily basis. It also gives companies a unique opportunity to be able to reach out to you if they want to endorse or start to build a relationship, and also gives you the opportunity to speak out for yourself. You don't have to go through a media source. You can say what you want to say, but it's a double-edged sword. I always tell the young guys, with exposure, there's always the potential of being exposed.
Magic, do you use it for those reasons as well? You don't have to call me or the Associated Press or whoever. You can just put out, now it's only 140 characters, so I guess you can do 40 of them at a time if you want to really send out a message, but what's your main purpose?
Well, I think just to let people know and fans know what I'm doing on a daily basis, also business-wise as well as social-wise. But I would say the Dodgers have done a wonderful job. We just won the Shorty Award a couple of weeks ago for being the best, having the best social media team in sports. We lead the MLB in fan engagement through all platforms. We also are #1 in fan check-in. When fans come into the game, they always snap a picture of themselves and let people know they're at Dodger Stadium. And what I love, too, is that we're #8 in the world. Dodger Stadium is Instagram-wise, came in 8th in the world as the most Instagram place in terms of fans taking their pictures at Dodger Stadium in the world. Isn't that crazy? Dodger Stadium. And so we've done a wonderful job. Hats off to my partners, Mark Walters. Todd is here somewhere, Guggenheim, Bobby, Peter. Everything that we said we were going to do, we've done. We improved the stadium, we improved the team, and the Dodger brand has exploded because of social media. Now, in real time, we can tell the fans, we got this going on, this player's doing this. Now, at the same time, you said an interesting thing, because back in the day, only the superstars would talk and fans would know. Now you're giving 50-something players a chance to have a voice, giving all 12 players of the NBA having a voice, all 25 MLB players have a voice now. Woo. Sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's bad. And so we must monitor now what our players are saying, what they're doing. And so it's made it great to interact with the fans, but also a headache at times too, because sometimes we got to come and clean up their mess when they say something that they shouldn't have said.
That's what Chuck Daly used to always tell you when he had the dream team. He says, I got 12 CEOs here. This is not an easy boardroom. Everybody wants the ball.
I wasn't one of them.
Oh, you were the easy one. Well, I did an interview with you after you won your 4th championship, and you were thinking about how much longer can this go on? Mm-hmm. And we went through the interview, and I said, you have all the money, you have all the adulation, you have everything you want in your life. Why continue? And I'll never forget the answer. The answer was, because I can still improve. So you just went through the 5 things that you've done with Dodger Stadium and the things you've said. Where is it that you're looking that you can still enhance the circumstance for Dodger fans and improve?
Well, I think the only thing left for us to do to enhance it for the Dodger fans, first we got to get on TV. So we got to make a deal with all our partners. And because the Dodger fans are really, they're loyal. We're #1 in attendance in MLB. We're #1 team in road attendance. People are coming to see the Dodgers play. We sold 3 million tickets before the season even started. So the Dodger brand and the Dodger team has just exploded. Only thing we have left to do is to win the World Series. That's it. I mean, we feel that we have a team that can compete for that. We got to get Clayton back, and if we get him healthy, we feel that we'll be one of the teams in the National League that can compete for the World Series title. I just saw my friend Mark. He might not be
Mark
too happy.
Antanasio.
Yeah, the
Milwaukee Brewers owner. Well, they got the best record in Major League Baseball right now.
Yeah, I congratulate him. That's all I'm going to say.
By the way, I don't think we're in May yet, are we? So it doesn't really matter now. Patrice, I want to ask you about social media and the impact that it's having in South Africa, particularly with the Sundowns and all of the soccer teams over there.
Well, it's a global phenomenon. We hosted the World Cup in 2010 when the whole of the best football nations in the world came to South Africa. I know that football in America sometimes, let me rather say soccer.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And it was a huge success, and South Africa has hosted both the Rugby World Cup, which is similar to our football in America. It's a, you know, if you look at the best football or soccer brands in Europe, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, Liverpool, the whole social media is an exciting, not just a means to connect, but also creates connectivity, transfers information, and it's also a very important business opportunity in relation to how you can generate income and revenue for your clubs in terms of, you know, creating greater loyalties and letting those business avenues result from that connectivity that you have.
Not to jump in, but it covers everything, marketing, PR. I mean, and you can get the word out so fast.
Absolutely.
You know, it's
instant consumption.
Yes, and Brian was right. Those kids want it on that cell phone. They want, you know, if it's tickets go on sale cheaper or whatever, they want to know, oh, you're going to have a bobblehead night. For us, bobblehead nights are everything. And those and those fans, oh, we sell out all those games when we have bobblehead nights. So the fans are in tune. Who's up for the bobblehead night, you know? So it's great.
Well, I got to get a bobblehead night going to NASCAR. I didn't know it was that popular, Magic. No.
Can you get 150,000 of them?
We're a commercial operation. So, yeah, we can.
You know, it's an interesting, because with the economy the way things are, and it's been difficult for the fans to be able to attend games and to be able to afford the tickets, so that experience at home has gotten much better. But you're dependent on having a lot of people, Brian, come and fill out those infields and fill up your stands. It's part of the whole experience, and they have to make a vacation of it. It's a different type of fan than the guy who goes to the game either on Tuesday night or Sunday afternoon for the NFL. And so how is having to drive and get a hotel and do all the things that you have to do to enjoy a NASCAR race changed for you in the past couple of years, and how difficult has it been?
Well, I think we've been disproportionately affected, candidly. There are no home teams. Our average fan is going to drive 200 miles stay 2 days with us, and these are, of course, multiple day weekends. And so fuel prices, certainly the economy with the job market, if you just lost your job or you think you may lose your job, one of the first things you do is you cut back on vacations. And NASCAR is often a vacation. We're also in the big event business with, 100,000 people plus on a given weekend or more. So it's had an effect on us, on everybody. And I will say this about all the leagues have done an enormous amount of promotions, some discounting when possible, trying to be sensitive to, I know we have in our fan base, to the hardships that this rough, unstable economy has brought to sports. And then add to that, Jim, you add to that the in-home experience getting, unbelievable. We all have, or many people have, big screens and high definition, and now you're going to have a digital component to that. When you combine that, that every league is thinking about, the game experience or the race experience, and how different that's going to be and how challenging that's going to be down the road.
Magic, you got to grapple with this every day, even though you have a huge fan base in a huge city. People at home, once they get the games, get to see these games in a way that is so much better than being there. Now, there is no substitute for being there. However, the beer's in the refrigerator, the Jell-O's jiggling, as a man used to say.
Nope.
And, it's so much easier, and you get all the replays.
Jim, it would never change. I don't care how much beer you can consume at your house.
It tastes better at Dodger Stadium.
I don't care how big and how many games you can play at one time. It's nothing like being at a live sporting event. It will never change. Never. The fan experience, the experience of 52, 75,000 cheering for, him catching a great catch. It's nothing like that. You can't get that. Nothing like hearing the roar of those cars coming around that track and it's shaking. The ground is shaking.
One of our ambassadors here. I like that.
It's nothing like when Puig hits that walk-off home run and everybody's screaming, going high-fiving. You don't even know the person. You just high-fiving everybody. Did you see that? It's nothing like that. It will never be nothing like it. All these people in here, they got season tickets for a reason somewhere. Yeah. Right? That's right. Because it's about the experience. It's about them hanging out with their friends and taking their business associates, taking their sons, taking their daughters. Live game experience will never change. I don't care how much TV improves. It will never change because it's something about being there live that get us all excited. And that's why we pay for that. We pay for that experience. We pay for that experience to take our sons and say, hey, my dad took me. Now it's my turn to take you. Then it's your turn to take your son. It's nothing like that. It will never change.
So you're not worried that you have to give them more because of the price of these tickets and because of the experience at home? Aren't you still investigating everything that you can give them to make it more special?
Look, it's all about if you got a good product that they can feel good about. Also, that they must love their team and the guys who are out there playing the game. If the fans love him and love the team and the direction, they know they're trying to be better, they're going to come out and support the Cardinals. Same thing with the Dodgers. Look, we were 17th in the league in attendance or even worse when we took over. Now we're number one. It's a reason for that. They connect with the players. They connect with Clayton, the best pitcher in baseball, on and on and on. And baseball is still one of the family-driven sports because you take your family to see a baseball game.
Are you a basketball guy or are you a baseball guy? Let's just get to the bottom of this right now.
I'm a businessman.
And I want to tie that together now because, Larry, you see and you have role models like this. And we know that so many athletes have so much trouble with their finances. They make a ton of money. In some instances, they're not prepared for everything that comes to them at the moment it arrives. So they make some decisions to buy cars and homes, and they help out the people who help them get to that position. And then at the end of the day, you know, there's very little left because it goes in a hurry. 3-4 years in the National Football League is the end of a career. So when you see people like Magic Johnson and you have that to hold up, what do you do and how do you instill this in your teammates so that this doesn't become the case?
Well, you know, from talking to guys in my locker room, Magic Johnson is the epitome. He is at the forefront of what every athlete aspires to do after they're done playing ball. Not only what he's accomplished on the court, but now how he's transitioned into the man that he is, the businessman. I think he's a beaming example, you know, of how you want to transition into your life after sports. And what I think is important for guys to understand, for people to understand and hear, is a lot of the guys, this is my league, you know, 60% of the guys come from broken homes. They're not privy to information about finance. They have no understanding, no concept of how to manage a checking account or how even to write a check. I mean, there's so many guys that they don't even know how to write a check. You know, it's unbelievable to me, and that comes from, you know, upbringing. My parents taught me all that. I remember my mom, you know, getting me a credit card when I was 10 years old, telling me this is what you can spend.
You got a credit card at 10 years old?
She was building my credit though. She was building my credit. You know what? They were building my credit. They were building my credit. You know, I didn't know what it was, but they were teaching me a valuable lesson about if you pay for something, once you pay for something, you have to pay for it later down the road. And a lot of guys, and I hear horror stories all the time about guys having bad credit because their mom opened up a Cox cable account in their name. And, you know, it's just, they don't understand. And so that's why a lot of guys fall into the traps of making bad decisions with their finances.
And what's being done so that that doesn't occur?
Well, the NFL does a great job with the NFL Symposium. Every June after the draft, they bring in 300 drafted players and teach them about everything from managing your money, picking, you know, good people to be associated with, a lot of different resources that can help you. But the unfortunate part is the NFL is made up of over 60% of free agent guys. So the guys that are being taught these lessons, sometimes not the guys that actually you know, playing in the game. So we have to continue to do a better job, and the veterans in the locker room have to help as well.
Patrice, in our country, we had a Sports Illustrated article a couple of years ago where, and I may have the number a little bit off, but it was over 80% of our professional athletes leave the sport broke. A lot of that is because they are taxed at about 50%, depending upon which state total. And then, of course, you have expenses.
They spend more than they make.
Right. Well, you have expenses. and as an owner friend of mine would say, they spend more than they make, they don't pay the tax, and then they get married and they get divorced, and so they end up with very little or nothing left. Is this a problem that you have, and how do you, as a team owner, educate your guys and tell them that this money is large right now, but once you stop playing, you have to make this last a lifetime?
Well, we have a principle that every player that has been associated with the club, 10, 15, 20 years after that player has left the club, if his financial well-being, his financial future is not stable or his lifestyle is not commensurate and appropriate, I think we have part of the blame to take in that regard, because we have to educate them. We've got some of the best financial advisors in South Africa advising them to make as much money as possible, because, you know, sports has got a very short period. It's time-bound.
Yep.
Within that period, you've got to maximize. But part of maximizing involves saving, investing, and putting money aside for the future. So that's a key obligation. And it saddens me when we see some of the heroes. It happens not only in Africa, but I think worldwide, where the people we used to admire, many, many years down the line, they're struggling. Yeah. And we have a duty to educate them and to help them whilst they generate income.
Magic, since you've been in this position and since you have gotten into business at a young age, you decided you wanted to be a businessman. You signed a 25-year deal for $25 million with Dr. Bust, but you also decided at that point that you wanted to learn, and you went around the community and you took meetings with guys who were big, successful at that time, multi-millionaires or billionaires, and you took a leadership role in this with other guys, but a lot of them didn't listen. How do you get the message through now that you're in an authoritative position that you couldn't get through at the time when you were playing?
Well, right now I sit down with our Dodger players and try to, just tell them, look, you're not going to be playing baseball forever, and you got to make plans for retirement now. So that means putting away money. Larry was right. Get you a money manager. Get you a financial advisor. Also,
but a lot of times those turn into disasters too, because you don't know who to trust, and we've heard horror stories of the guys that lose their money through that.
Well, you got to get with somebody who don't really need you or your money. So I only get with the best. Michael Ovitz used to tell me, do you think you're the best basketball player? I said, yes. Then get you the best lawyer, the best money manager, on and on and on. Or you'll pay for it later. And he was right. He was one of my mentors. Dr. Buss allowed me to see all the books where the money was going, how we made money. Our sponsors, the floor seats, all the seats, and the bankers, on and on and on. So he became a mentor of mine. And then Marvin Davis, we both know Mr. Davis. I took him to lunch. I took so many people to lunch and asked them questions. That's what Larry is doing. Larry is going to be a great businessman because this young man is very smart. He's intelligent. He speaks very well. He's already talked to me before this about being a businessman, and he's going to meet with a lot of you guys, so make sure you give him your card.
Been to 100 countries, so he can talk to anything in the world. And he's back in school. He's finishing his degree.
Exactly.
Promise that he made to his mom. And
exactly.
Back at the University of Munich.
Yep.
Proud of this man.
So I think what has to happen, see, the problem, Jim, is this. In sports, unfortunately, we want to keep up with the next guy. See, I didn't never want to keep up with the next guy. When I won that Riviera Buick that they gave me, and that Jeep Wrangler,
You're still riding around
I
with
was
it.
still riding it. I come, and I'm driving it, and I'm beeping my horn, and all those guys got Rolls Royces and 20 cars and all this. I'm putting my money away. I'm putting my money away, putting my money away. So then when Dr. Buss said, hey, Irvin, it's going to take $10 million to invest in the Lakers a long, long time ago, I had the money to invest. When the Dodgers came up, I had the money to invest with my partners. And your partners want you to have skin in the game, and I was able to do that. And so I don't come in as Magic Johnson. I can write a check at the same time. And that's what makes me feel proud. Then I get respect because of that. And see, a lot of guys try to use their name and all of that, but that's not who I am. I know business. I'm an expert at what I do, and I feel good about that.
You just said write a check. You just said write a check, and I'm going to bring you back to the Clippers.
Well, you're good.
You going to buy the Clippers?
I've been saying no all the time. I think that we'll see what happens.
Keep talking. We went from no to we'll see. Keep going.
I will be owning an NBA team sometime. It has to be the right situation. Is the Clippers the right situation? Of course. It's one of the premier franchises. He's made money. Despite of what we think of him, he's done a good job with his business. So we just have to wait and see.
How does a guy who got us all so used to purple and gold contemplate that red and blue?
Well, won't I buy the Lakers then?
Well, that's a possibility.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't let that get out.
Oh, no, no one has a smartphone in here. This isn't on the internet. It's
No,
not
I was
in
just,
this room of
I was
4,000.
just kidding. They have great ownership in the Buss family. You know,
I mean, would that be hard? Would it hard to be a lifelong Laker and then?
No, okay. Business is business. I'm not married to anything. I am a Laker till I die.
Married to Cookie.
And but if
that's why she likes
a situation comes up and we feel my partners and I, Guggenheim, that we want to pursue the Clippers, then that's what we'll do. But, you know, it's a long way for all of that. It's a long way off. But I'm sure that once that comes up, Mark and Todd, and we'll all sit down and see what we want to do. I think the fans have already spoken. They want us to own the team, but we just have to wait and see. Again, it's a long way off. But I want to bring the NFL back to Los Angeles. That's what I'm working on.
It's long overdue, and I think a lot of fans would really, really welcome that happening. Are you in the middle of that as well?
We're in the middle of everything. When you got Guggenheim, you're in the middle of everything. But no, we're just waiting and see what we're going to do, and I think that we'll see what happens. We're proud of the Dodgers. We just bought the Sparks. We're happy about buying the Sparks, and they get started soon as well. Mark and I both had daughters who played basketball in high school, so it's exciting for us to own a team. Our daughters are very excited, and so we're excited about hopefully winning a World Series and a WNBA championship all in the same season.
Wow, that would be a heck of an accomplishment. Let's broaden this out a little bit, Brian, because I want to ask you, you know, we're in this digital arena now, and we've gotten so used to watching everything on television. Television has supplied the American sporting public with all of these unbelievable events, basically for the cost of your television and your cable bill now that we're off of rabbit ears. And you get NASCAR, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, all the college sport. You get all of this stuff comes in here now, and the networks are paying billions upon billions of dollars, and they keep feeding that because they need the programming. Mm-hmm. Are you concerned? You just signed an $8.2 billion contract with Fox and NBC. Are you concerned that as that goes out, that people are giving up their televisions, they're all going to the smartphones, everything is going onto the computer, that what you have as a business isn't sustainable, and you're going to have to do something much like Ted Turner did all those years ago and said, we've got to get off network television and migrate to cable television. Will we now migrate from cable television to the computer and the smartphone because it's not sustainable going forward for network television?
Well, look, sports has been and always will be the most attractive content. It's the most valuable content because, you know, after all, it's the only programming that you have to see live. TiVo, that doesn't help you. And the networks and whoever is the distributors, you know that. Most of the deals that are getting inked are a long way out. Ours is a 10-year deal. I know that the NBA will be doing a long-range agreement. But that's up to the distributor to decide, you know, along with the leagues to figure out, you know, where it goes. And it's already available now. I mean, you know, on tablets, depending on which plan you buy or whatever else. So that's just going to be another opportunity for the content people like us and certainly these guys. So I think it's a big positive, and you always hear the bell ringing about, you know, sports rights or, you know, they're peaking. There's no way they can, and then, you know, it's supply and demand. Somebody makes a deal, and then up goes the floor.
Patrice, you lose a lot of money operating your team, the Sundowns. And they look at you and they say, here's a real wealthy guy. He's doing great. You've got the mineral company. And so you have to approach it to a certain degree as a philanthropic endeavor and giving back to the public because it's expected of you to go out and put this team out on the field that's going to win. Where does the money come into it for you? This is the business of sports, and where does the business aspect of sports come in? Because no one likes to lose millions of dollars, even if you have billions of dollars.
Well, there's a clear distinction between our philanthropic initiatives as far as the family is concerned and areas where the primary concern is to be globally competitive. We run businesses that have got shareholders all over the world, and we've got to do very well. But as I said earlier, as far as sports is concerned, it was a conscious commitment on our side as a family, taking into account the very, very important role that sports plays in bringing people together. People from different backgrounds, but also your sportsmen are role models. They tend to influence young players that, don't do crime, don't do drugs, be a responsible person, treat others the way you want to be treated. You cannot be a world-class sportsman if you don't look after your health and your physical condition. But as far as football is concerned, and we see our involvement in football more as a continental initiative rather than just confined to South Africa. There are about 1 billion people in Africa, and there's a lot of investments that's been put in sports. Some of the best football players in Europe, some of the best soccer players in Europe are from Africa. So they're doing very, very well. But we do recognize that specifically as far as football is concerned, because we also sponsor football at schools level throughout South Africa, but in relation to the soccer team, we hope that it can reach a stage where it breaks even, rather than having consistently to put in a huge amount of money, which we don't necessarily expect any returns, but it becomes a bit irresponsible when you continuously commit resources that are not properly managed and that are not properly accounted for.
And the public's unforgiving, aren't they? They don't care whether or not you break even. They just want to win.
I can't agree more with you. In fact, they tell you that you must give us the money and we will show you how to how to make everybody else happy. But it's a bit unfair because I'm thankful that my wife and children don't know how much money I spend in football, because they would be very angry with me. But when you've got 70,000 people at a stadium and you've just won, and you see the excitement and the happiness in people's eyes, you get consoled for a few minutes until you have to write your next check.
But see, that's what I was just saying, that he was just talking about 70,000 people. If you've never been to a soccer game, Todd and I, he took me over to Madrid. We got to see Barcelona and Madrid play. They were there 3 or 4 hours before the game singing until the game started.
Yeah.
If you've never seen something like this, you should experience that, man. Oh, man. And they all are dressed up. Like in America, we get some people. Everybody in that stadium got on a jersey. It's truly amazing. It's such a blessing I was able to see that. Go ahead, you're going to ask me a question. No. I love it, man. I love it.
By the way, they're worth $3.3 billion, that Real Madrid. It's the most expensive estimated franchise in the world.
Let me talk to Guggenheim, see what we can do.
I guess Jerry Jones might want to weigh in too.
We'll partner with him.
Is sports a mature business? Or is it in its infancy? Where it's still a growth business?
Oh, wow. I think it still has room to grow. But I think right now, everybody's just looking for sustainability. And now, you said something interesting about not making money. Now, in America, we want to drive ROI. We want return on our investment. So it'd be tough for us as the Dodgers to not be in it to make money, and that's what we're in it to do. But I think that the business model, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, is sustainable. I think that RSNs have changed the game for us now with Time Warner Cable, and you're seeing others and other teams coming together to try to start an RSN hey, we never thought this would happen, but look what happened in the Super Bowl. Most watched, what was it?
112 million. And we had 35 million on the radio too. If you were stuck in
just
your car
think about
one.
Just think about how many people watched the Super Bowl. I mean, so I think that Right now, sports is still doing well. I think it will continue to do well as long as all of us do what we're supposed to do, and the fans still have a heavy appetite for live sports and for sports in general, whether that's at the venue or at home.
How would you handle that, Brian?
Well, our own view is, and my father had this, that in our sport, everybody has to financially win. The drivers have to win, the owners have to win, the track operators. You know, the days of, you know, we're going to, you know, lose money endlessly just, you know, because we can, or that the franchise is going to appreciate anyway. Those days are fast ending, and so, you know, it has to be a balance. And I want to tell one quick story, though, about Urban. You may remember this. It was an earlier question about, well, how do you get young athletes to look ahead and all their lives. So a couple of our drivers through the years, and I tell this story, I was at dinner with Magic, and I asked him, I said, how can you be so nice, so affable to everybody? He goes, well, I'm going to tell you one story. He said, many, many years ago, there was a guy, apparently at a basketball game, at one of the Lakers games. Later on, Irving was doing some business in the development, and he went up to the guy, and it was a stretch for the guy to do business with him, and he said, I goes, well, I'm going to do this deal with you, Irving. He goes, you probably don't remember this, because I had my little boy at the game one night. We asked 4 or 5 different players, and nobody would take a picture with him. You came right over and took a picture with him. I tell that story to all of our young drivers. You never know down the road, remember that story, when that's going to impact you, and it's a great story.
Well, a couple quick thoughts as we're running out of time. That is a great story. Larry, should college players be paid?
I believe so, yes. I think...
Well, you took a pay cut when you left Pittsburgh going to Arizona.
I plead the fifth on that answer. From the time that you walk in the door as a college...
That was a joke, folks.
From the time you walk in... I know it was a joke.
Go ahead.
From the time you walk in the door as a college athlete, your time is restricted. I mean, you don't have the same life as a regular college student. You're required to carry 17 hours, you know, put in 8 hours a day training, you know, watching tape, practicing. The university's making millions and millions of dollars off your athletic performances, and I do believe you should be paid for it.
And what's the mechanism for this to work now? Because the NCAA is going to have to go through some reforms. They've come to the party late. They now recognize, you know, you can't have Shabazz Napier saying he's starving at night because he's hungry, because he can't eat, and then he wins a national championship for Connecticut. So they're making reforms. Northwestern has voted now to, they've taken a vote, we don't know the result, to unionize. That would affect private schools. What do you see as the best mechanism to resolve this?
Well, the thing that's so perplexing about it, there's only 2 revenue-generating sports in college athletics. That's basketball and that's football. There's a lot of other sports that are being performed and played in college athletics. These kids are not generating revenue, but they're still putting in the same time, committing the same effort, the same performance as other kids are being put in. So there has to be a formula that's fair, but not too much where kids can take advantage of it. So, I mean, that's the formula that I don't know the answer to, but I firmly believe the college athletes should be compensated for the hard work and dedication they put forth.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Concussions. Your sport has had a settlement now on concussions. Do you feel as though going forward, we've seen in certain instances, statistics are saying Pee Wee football is down, junior high and high school programs are having to cut out these programs because of the liability going forward? Are you concerned overall that concussions and head injuries are threatening the survival of your sport?
There's no question. I believe that it's threatening it, and it's unfortunate because there's over 5 million kids that sustain concussions riding bicycles every single year, Jim. But you're not going to tell your son or daughter not to ride his bike anymore, would you? There's ways to prevent it. There's better ways to diagnose it, but I don't think it's fair to take kids out of sports. You know, this is the game that my grandfather played professionally, my father played professionally, I played professionally, and if my son wants to go out there and play it, who am I to tell him that he can't? Do I want him to be safe and sustain concussions? Absolutely not, but I want him to be able to go out there and live his dreams the same way I was able to.
Are you safe when you play, or do you say, are you cheating the test, so to speak?
I fudged on a couple answers here and there, but this is my livelihood, Jim. This is how I put food on the table for my children. This is how I make my living. And you know, am I proud to say that? Probably not. But you know, I have to do what I have to do to provide for my family.
All right, our time is up. It's time to move on to the end of the global session here. As the afternoon winds down, I want to thank Patrice, Irvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Brian France, the Milken Institute, and Mike Milken. Thank you all for having us. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Good job.